Hello, everyone, and welcome to Battle of the Beast Reptile Rampage, episode number 29. I'm Adam, and today we have the first battle from the semi-finals about to go underway. And oh my god, we're very near the end of this tournament. Oh my gosh! Okay, so 28 battles ago, the tournament just started and we had 32 beasts. Now we're down to the final four. And after this battle and the next one, we'll be down to the final two. The grand final, where the simple question will be who will win? And if I'm being completely honest, it is any of these remaining beasts games still. Literally any one of these beasts can walk away with the trophy, walk away with the eternal glory that comes for winning one of these tournaments. And I would be happy with any one of these four winning. But let's get started with the first battle of the semi-finals. Representing Series 4, the Amulet of Avantia, the beast which I have labelled as the underdog of this tournament for simply being the last beast out of the final 16 that I expected to make it into the semi-finals. We have Blaze the Ice Dragon versus his opponent, a representative from Series 26, the Four Masters, a beast which I expected to make it to the quarterfinals and would have loved to see him make it to the semi-finals, and he has. I'm of course talking about Teknos, the Ocean Crawler. So with these two beasts going against each other, if I'm being honest, I do not really know who's going to come out on top in this battle, because both of them are strong in their own ways. However, I don't even know how I'm going to do this battle. I am going to have to do a yeah, I don't know. Well, let's do the stats department now. I can think of a battlefield for these two. Blaze the Ice Dragon. Many hundreds of years ago, the whole of Avantia was covered in a sheet of ice. The Great Four restored life to the land, but for some parts of the realm, Blaze the Ice Dragon has unleashed a second ice age. Most dragons breathe fire, but from Blaze's jaws blasts a deadly stream of icy wind. The beast freezes everything in his path. Water, animals, and plants. Nothing can escape. Age 313, power 210, magic level 187, fright factor 90, size 320. Powers and abilities are spectral form, natural weaponry, ice breath, constriction, and flight. Weaknesses is low temperature requirement for spectral form, shadow weakness. When in his spectral form, he can still be harmed by his opponent's shadows, like shadow on shadow, and possession. Teknos the Ocean Crawler. Teknos does not have a bio in the Holy Bible, so I can't really go in much detail for him in that part. But for powers and abilities, he has enhanced strength, natural armor, natural weaponry, underwater breathing, and speed swimming. Weaknesses are reversion and struggle to stand. Okay, so with the stats done for both of these beasts, it's time to pick a arena, and I'm going to need to go with the swampy arena here. For the sole reason, I need some water to help out Teknos, but I'm not going to flood the arena entirely as it may kind of screw Blaze over. So, Swampy Arena it is. But with that, and that being said, let's kick off the semi-final battle. Or the first semi-final battle. With it being Blaze versus Teknos. Let's get into this. As the chamber doors open, Teknos comes out of his chamber very slowly on all fours. And as he comes out and his door closes, he roars into the arena, causing the water around him to just shake with ripple vibrations. And out of the sky exit appears nothing. Just not really nothing, but almost like a fog of blue mist coming out of the chamber, sky exit and front end exit. Teknos, a bit confused by this, also notices on the walls of the chamber, outside of the chamber, that ice starts like clawing its way out from said chamber. Teknos is at first confused by this, and before he can even question anything, he feels like a brush of wind go right past him, almost like he had a ghost go right through him. And as soon as he looks around trying to figure out what was responsible for that, he looks back where the chamber was to find that the doors are closed and Blaze is re-emerging into his physical form. As they both stare each other down, Blaze instantly shoots out an ice breath going directly towards Teknos. Teknos withdraws himself into his shell and buries the bottom half of his shell into the swampy waters, so the ice just bounces off the top part of his shell. As Blaze stops with the ice breath, Teknos comes out of his shell. Congratulations, Teknos. And instantly charges up towards Blaze, standing on his hind legs, using his tail for balance, and slashes right towards Blaze with his claw. Blaze immediately goes into a spectral form for Teknos' fin to go right through him. And Blaze reverts back into his physical form and bites onto the fin before it gets out of reach as he follows the fin round. And as Teknos draws his fin to his side, he lifts that fin up and using his other fin goes to attack at Blaze. Blaze, seeing that coming, uses his long body to wrap himself around the other fin to slower the momentum and continues with the biting and stabbing with his claws on Teknos' first fin. As Teknos tries to pull his fins towards him to bite onto Blaze, Blaze immediately shoots out ice from his mouth whilst still having a firm grip on Teknos' fin. As the ice starts spreading around Teknos' fin, he feels a great chill coming from his fin. Immediately, he starts violently waving his fins around, trying to shake Blaze off, as the coldness is affecting him. Blaze then goes back to his spectral form as Teknos is about to slam his fins into the ground to cause blunt force trauma onto Blaze. But Blaze goes to his spectral form to go right through Teknos' fins and avoid that damage. Blaze then using his ghost, keeping an eye on his shadow, uses his claws and scratches right at the top or the back rather of Teknos' neck as he breathes ice onto Teknos, causing misty fog kind of icy vapor to just spread all over Teknos as Teknos roars in anger from the drastic cold, waving his fins about violently, trying to attack what he can't see. And eventually his fin does actually hit, well, the shadow of one of his fins actually does hit Blaze. Blaze's shadow, anyway, in an uppercut formation. As Blaze roars in pain, he reverts back to his physical form and sees a three-pronged claw mark going right up his chest. As Blaze looks down on that and back at Teknos with pure anger, the only thing that's flashing back into his mind is him remembering his first battle in the tournament where Komodo done the exact same thing to him. Immediately, Blaze roars in anger and charges up towards Teknos whilst breathing ice over Teknos as Teknos covers his head with his fins as the ice just kind of works its way around his fins. And immediately, with Teknos' fins being covered in a thin layer of ice, Blaze stops with his momentum and using his tail, smashes his tail right into Teknos' fins, shattering the ice, and Teknos roaring in pain from the very close up bludgeoning which he got from Blaze's tail. As Teknos pushes his fins out to try and push Blaze away, Blaze orientates himself to where he gets hit by it, but instead of taking damage, he rides Teknos' fins out of Teknos' range before going back and doing the same thing again. As Teknos covers his head again from the ice, this time prepared to be hit back, He pushes his fins out to try and hit Blaze, but Blaze has gone into his spectral form where he flew right through Teknos and is right behind him. Appears in his physical form right behind him, breathing ice on the back of his shell and having the icy vapor spread around the shell. As Blaze then, using his still in his physical form, wraps his tail around Teknos's one of Teknos's rear legs. He immediately flies to the left, pulling the leg from Teknos, causing Teknos to fall on his side. As Teknos rolls on his front and stays on all fours, he sees Blaze flying around, roaring in anger, almost kind of laughing from Blaze from his stunt he pulled on Teknos, making him fall over. Teknos, in retaliation, lifts up his fin and smashes it right on the water to try and splash Blaze to get his attention and aggro him to lure him in closer. It does work with splashing Blaze, however, Blaze turns around to that and lifts up one claw and just does this kind of formation, causing Teknos to lift up his fin again to splash Blaze. Blaze shoots his icy breath over the watery wave which was coming towards him, freezing it in place before Blaze uses his tail and smashes his tail into the icy wave, causing splinters of ice to be shot right back towards Teknos. Teknos uses his fin to cover his face as the icy shards rain down on him. As he inspects his fins, he sees that there are needles of ice all over him. As he looks at that and remembers a previous battle he was in, he realizes that Blaze has just done Glarky's signature move. And at that moment, Teknos realizes that this is a beast unlike any other that he's up against. Blaze, not being a water beast, has mastered an ability that another water beast has been able to do. Immediately, as Teknos stares up at Blaze, Blaze just almost chuckles as he goes into his spectral form and starts using his claws with his claws with his shadow, and starts scratching at Teknos' shadow. Obviously, with Teknos on all fours, he's a lot closer to Teknos as he was before. He's a lot closer to Teknos as he was before when Teknos was on his hind legs. Using one of his claws, he stabs his shadow claw into the back of Teknos' neck. Well, shadow of Teknos' neck, and digs him in as far as he can, still feeling the resistance from Teknos' flesh, but still pulling it in, and then using all his might, he pulls his arm back, with dragging out tons of flesh from Teknos, and the audience members just sees that what looks like a chunk of flesh just pop right off of Teknos like nothing happened. The entire time Teknos was roaring in pain. As Teknos looks around trying to find Blaze, thinking he did that in his physical form, he can't find him at all, and Teknos is nothing but confused over this, realizing he's in his spectral form. He can't see him. Blaze reverts into his physical form, hovers himself very silently over Teknos before breathing ice on the back of Teknos' neck where his wound is, causing the inside of Teknos' neck starting to freeze over. Teknos roars in anger over this and hops onto his hind legs, knocking Blaze back as Blaze was not ready for that stunt which Teknos pulled. Teknos immediately swings both his fins behind him as he turns round and swings him towards Blaze. Blaze is narrowly able to dodge both of them as he's minorly nicked by the claws on Teknos' fins as both of them swing right past him. Blaze continues with his ice breath directly on Teknos' face, freezing up his angered expression was in his angered expression almost immediately, and then using his head, he headbutts Teknos's head, shattering the ice that froze his expression in place. As Blaze uses Teknos's moment of disorientation, he flies down to Teknos's hind legs and wraps his tail around both of them before yanking them forwards, pulling Teknos's legs away from off him. As Teknos falls onto the back of his shell, he's now rocking around trying to turn himself over, but he can't reach or have any firm grip on anything to help him turn around. As Blaze comes back comes back up to Teknos, hovering right above him, Teknos reaches out for him to try and slash at him, but Blaze is now done playing games with him. He uses his claw, grabs onto Teknos' fin, and bites right into it before using his that same claw and digs into the other part of Teknos' fin that's directly in front of his mouth, digging it as far down as his claws can go and pulling with all his might, making it easier for Blaze, with his mouth still on Teknos' fin, to jolt his head up very sharply, ripping Teknos' fin right off. Before, still with the fin in his mouth, he turns his head around and stabs it right into Teknos' undershell, which, with how powerful Teknos' claws are, penetrates the undershell almost immediately and goes right into Teknos' chest. Teknos roars in pain over this and has his eyes wide open in shock from the sudden blow, which he was not prepared for. Throughout the entire time, Teknos was trying to fight him off with the other fin, but Blaze had that under control as well, with his tail wrapped around that fin, keeping it at bay. And then Teknos realizes Blaze is going for that fin next, and that's exactly what he does. As he does the same thing and tears Teknos' second fin off, he angles his head again, but instead of going for the shell this time, he stares directly at Teknos' neck, and Teknos realizes what he's going to do. Right before Blaze can stab Teknos with his own fin in the neck, Teknos withdraws his head in, right just in time for the fin to miss his head entirely. Blaze roars in anger over this, keeping the fin right where it is. He uses his claws, grabs ridges in the undershell, and pulls back the shell, tearing away at it as hard as he can to try and rip apart the undershell, which is softer than the top shell, by the way, to get towards Teknos. Eventually, with all his ferocity and continuation to do that, he does tear away at the undershell to where he comes face to face with Teknos' head before immediately biting down on the head, sinking his teeth into both sides of Teknos' neck, the front and back, before using his claws to pin Teknos' shoulders in place and twisting his head violently. So violently, in fact, that you hear a snap and then the tearing of flesh around Teknos' neck, for Blaze yanks up as hard as he can, with Teknos' head still inside his mouth. He spits it out, having it land directly where his having the head land directly where his head would have been if he let his fin stab him in the neck. At that moment, Teknos has stopped moving, stopped showing any signs of struggle, and stopped roaring. At that moment, Blaze realizes he's made it. He makes his way back to his chamber, emanating that same icy mist as the chamber doors close, and he sits in his chamber awaiting the final round. So that Blaze has won, Teknos has lost somehow. So if you think Teknos should have won, please comment below. You think about how my worst final, and Blaze is the first finalist of the Reptile Rampage tournament. And I'll be honest when I say, I am very surprised by that. Blaze, as I said at the start of this video, was a beast that I didn't even expect to make it into the semi-finals. In my summary video at round 3, I said I didn't even expect him to make it into the quarterfinals. But he has. Blaze has proven himself to be a formidable opponent this entire tournament, taking down beasts like Komodo, Malix, Quag, and now Teknos. Honestly, whoever ends up going against Blaze, good luck. You will need it. And if you know what the other semi-finalists are, you know what battle's coming up next. But with how Blaze, well, why Blaze beats in Teknos, ultimately it's no secret with tortoises that the undershell is naturally softer than the actual top part of the shell when it comes to tortoises or turtles or whatever the hell. It also comes down to the previous points that I pointed out in previous battles when it came to Blaze's battles, where he shoots ice to slow his opponents down. Teknos was already a kind of slow beast, so slowing him down even more just made Blaze make it easier for Blaze to even hit him and inflict more damage on him. Blaze used that to his opportunity, and after trying to kill Teknos with his own claws, he decides that no, he's going to take care of him his normal way, and that's exactly what he did. So with that, Blaze is the first finalist, and that is all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press the notification bell down in the corner below, and I'll see you next time.